so there was a incident here that I had, an encounter that I had where the Lord took me in and he showed me a golden tube. And anyway, it had the word Canada written on it. And what I saw was this Canadian leader. He was actually the same leader that I saw, a few weeks ago sitting in Parliament. And he had the big Charter of Canadian Rights and Freedoms behind him. And the House of Commons, was, set up their angels in the room. And, really saw him as a founding father of Canada in our day. And this fellow that I've seen, he is called to get Canada back on her godly foundations right now. And God's hand is just so supernaturally upon him. And we see God is launching him, and he is launching him very soon. And I honestly believe, from the things that I've been seeing, that we have a new prime minister in the making. And God is really, breathing on the underdog in this hour. And so the Lord is really bringing justice and righteousness to Canada. And there is nothing that the enemy can do to stop it. So good. And so the eyes of, Canada, the eyes of the world are upon us right now. And what God is orchestrating right now, it's big. And, it's like we're writing the third Chronicles chapter 7, right now. It's coming in so fast. But on this tube, just to kind of jump back, it was the kind of tube that you would carry blueprints in, where you go, the kind
right, yeah.
And so, but this one, it was solid gold, and it was inset with diamonds and gems, and it was very ornate. And on the side of it, it had engraved on it in bold letters, it said Canada. And I knew that what was contained within that tube was God's blueprint and God's plan for this nation and what he intended for it. Now, the end of this tube, it had a kind of a special end on it. It was a bit complex, and it actually needed 3 keys to be able to unlock it and get the blueprint out to be working on it. And so what I saw were these 3 keys were entrusted to three leaders within Canada. And when they came together in unity, they would come together, and each one would have their part, and it would unlock this, so the destiny of Canada could, come to pass.
Wow. Well, the Spirit's really bearing witness with you right now with what you're saying.
Oh, Steve, this just gets me. I get like lightning, electricity comes through me as, sometimes when I'm speaking.
By the way, totally. And Barry, by the way, there will be people either from Canada or USA, and they'll say, well, if there's someone being groomed, why don't you tell us his name? So what are your thoughts? Is that supposed to be kept under wraps? Is that why you're not saying his name?
Do you know what? At this moment, I just don't have a release.
Good.
There's a pressure that's building on the back side of it, and I just don't have a release to do that yet. But it will be. I feel like it's very close. Like this thing is going to pop, and it's going to happen. But let me be clear. What this guy that I see him as our new prime minister, and he's a federal leader. He's a strong man, and he's a man with God's heart for Canada, and he is called to bring truth, righteousness, and justice to Canada and this nation. I see him bringing unity, and let me tell you this. He will expose and deal with corruption and darkness in this region like no other, where it's been swept under the rug and just kind of ignored. The time for that is over, and so he's being raised up into a place that he's going to go there.
You sound like you're describing our President Donald J. Trump, but it's not Donald J. Trump.
Let me say this. I would say that we would what I'm seeing, I would see that very, very much, almost even like a I can't go there, but I would agree with you. I would agree with you.
Okay.
Now the second key that I saw is in the hands of our Alberta Premier. And, our Premier here in Alberta, he's got a call upon him. And Alberta is a key to Canada opening up. And so what I saw is God is really working in his life right now. He's working to bring some freedom and do some things in his life. And he will be really, I see, when he is released as a freedom fighter and stepping into the call to bring in Alberta into all we're called to be, that's another one of the keys here for us. And incidentally, Alberta has got so much oil here where our natural resources are immense. And that oil, prophetically is meant to flow out of Alberta to Canada and furthermore to be exported to the nations of the world. And so I decree and I declare that is going to come to pass.
Good. Wow.
Yeah. The third key was given to the Premier of Ontario. I seen a call upon his life and as well. And in the same way as the Alberta Premier, God is really working in his life right now. And he is called to bring forth truth and to lead Ontario and into all that Ontario is called to be as a province. But the importance of Ontario for the rest of the nation is critical. And so I say, Ontario, God sees you, and this is a turning point for you. And I see that, as the ecclesia stands up and takes her place there, you'll see the shift start to take place. It is going to take prayer, fasting, and it's going to take participation. It's going to take boots on the ground, and it's not a time to be passive. So, and then this stands true not only for Ontario and Alberta, but the rest of Canada at large. And so as these three men are brought into an alignment and into unity, called to work together, as they did, God's favor was just going to come in and the landscape would shift and it'll never be the same. So, we just command that the enemy stand down. We just command the enemy stand down in Alberta, in Ontario, in all the provinces of Canada in Jesus' name. This is Canada's hour, and we will not sit passively by. And we declare and decree that shift into alignment now in Jesus' name. And he will. He is with us. He is for us, and he'll have his way with us in Canada. And he'll bring healing to the nations through us. And the leaves of the trees are the healing of the nations. And, our Canadian flag is the only flag that has got the picture of a leaf on it.
The maple leaf.
A maple leaf. And in Revelation 22, it talks about the leaves of the trees being for the healing of the nations. And so it shall be. So you're going to see that. You're going to see these things start to come together. Wow. So the ecclesia, we've been in such a place here, with our lockdowns and, as much of the world is, we've seen pastors put in jail and we've seen just, this squeezing going on, Steve, the discouragement that is on the Canadian people has been.
Well, for sure. And, Barry, speaking as American, the whole picture that Americans have of Canadians is the polite, proper, kind, reaching out. And when we see the police, I think they tackled a pastor or something, or he was resisting them. But I mean, we saw the police roughhousing, and then they're putting barriers around it. I thought, these are Canadians doing this to Canadians. Yeah. It's kind of boggling our minds, which I'm sure it is to you yourself.
Yeah. It's really unprecedented times, and